What's up? I hope you could see me and you could hear me. And what we're gonna be doing is we're just gonna first of all remove this. I don't wanna have some lame thumbnail. I wish I could just like remove it. I don't know why there's no option like just taking out the thumbnail. Um, but yeah, so let's suppose we go here into this environment lab. What we're doing is there's a course. It's called K8s with tests. So this one, Kubernetes certification. And we also, for those who watched my Hacktoberfest, wondering what's the progress in that, I can show you that here. Okay, label selectors and annotators is something else we're going to be doing. But here, the process is we already have 6 out of done. 2 are in review. We've already received all these badges. So you can see all these Jalapin badges. We all received them. Tree Nation and Swag is only given for those people who have done it properly. So this is in review. This one's in review and 4 are accepted, so that's what matters, honestly.
Okay,
Now,
in this lab, we get familiar.
you can see there's a lab environment of monitoring and a lab environment of, what's it called?
Let us now go through the lab.
Logging. So let's go with the logging first, and then we're going to go with the monitoring. And let's start the lab. You're exactly where you need to be. You are not behind. Okay, you got to learn from that, understand that. Um, okay, so now we're gonna be going out and making sure that this is loaded properly, this environment. Okay, so you can see you have deployed a pod hosting on application inspector, wait for it to start. So we could just say, okay, kubectl get pods. You can see there's one application running and it has one container. We have deployed a pod hosting an application inspector, wait for it to start. It has already started. So a user has expressed concerns accessing the application and identify the cause of the issue. Inspect the logs of the pod. I think you could just say kubectl get web app one and then logs. I have a feeling if you just say logs, no, the server doesn't have a resource type of web app. Um, get okay, get pod web app. Okay, so here get web app one logs, and then we have error from server pods logs not found. What? Web app pod web app, and then okay, there's some other command that I'm missing. So here we have kubectl logs command uses okay kubectl logs, and I'm not typing it properly. Okay, so it says over here expect logs pod or type name is the required argument for the logs command. See kubectl logs -h for examples. So I would say kubectl logs and then web app. Here's the logs of it. What is wrong with it? It says users has expressed concerns accessing the application. Identify the cause of the issue. Inspect the logs of the pod. So we inspected the logs. We have user 3 is viewing page 3. User 2 is viewing page 3. Okay, that looks good. User 1 is viewing page. Okay, user 7 order failed as the item is out of stock. This is some issue. User 5 failed to log in as the account is locked due to many failed attempts. So it says accessing the application, I think, is a logging issue, and it's the user 5 who's having issues. Uh, Application log due to many failed attempts. Okay, so now after that we have deployed a new pod web app 2 hosting an application inspector and wait for it to start. Again, the same thing. Kubectl get logs or kubectl logs or first like say kubectl get pods. We got two web applications and they're both running. This has two different pods, right? Two different pods which have two different containers. You can say so. Kubectl. So it says over here, a user is reporting issues while trying to purchase an item. Okay. Identify the user and cause of the issue. Inspect the logs of the web application running in the web app 2 pod. So kubectl logs, and then we have web app 2. Now you'll see one thing. Here we have that user. Remember, so there's all these users that are logged in. User 4, user 5 failed to log in as failed attempts. User 30 order failed as As the item is out of stock. Your user 30 out of item out of stock. That's the one. And that's it. So we end this one and we go to the next one, which is monitoring. If you don't get what you wish for, you get what you work for. That's what Daniel Milstein said. I like these quotes. So I want to go ahead. We have deployed a few pods running workloads, inspect them, wait for the pods to run before proceeding to the next question. Uh, let's see. So it says deployed a few pods running workloads. We have 3 different pods, and they're all running. Let us deploy the metrics server to enable to enable monitoring of the pods and nodes in this cluster. How do we do that? So it says deploy the metrics server in your Kubernetes cluster by applying the latest release components.yaml manifest during the following command. During the, using the following command. So we have to use this command. How do we do this? Run. So if you go to this file, you have the only sample.yaml. You can also view sample.yaml, and it doesn't have anything, bro. So I would just run this. So deploy the metrics server in your Kubernetes cluster by applying the latest release. Deploy the metrics server in your Kubernetes cluster by applying the latest release. Um, Deploy the metrics server in your Kubernetes cluster by applying the latest release. Components.yaml manifest during the following command. Kubectl apply and then all that. Just copy that. Deploy the metrics server in your Kubernetes cluster by applying the latest release. Components.yaml manifest. I mean, this is a GitHub repo, honestly. If you could just view this. Applying the latest release. Manifest using the following command. Okay. Okay, this is a repo. Okay, and it gives me a YAML file. My local machine. Okay, cool. Open this up. What is this? So I'll just open up with, let's say, man, why is like, I'll just open up with Visual Studio Code. So let's see what it is. So it's kind of a YAML configuration, API version, service account. Um, it's a metric server. Service account, wow. Kind is a cluster role. Okay, it has a bunch of random stuff here. Random. So let's go ahead and, I mean, I can't view the repository, so I'll just run this command, which is applying that YAML configuration, basically. You can do it from the internet as well. That's really cool to see. Okay, it says kubectl didn't get the copy properly, so I'm going to copy the whole command and paste it right here, and there you go. Okay, now you can see over here these metrics server created, and all these stuff that were with it are being created or created. Run the thing, metrics server deployed. It did. Go to the next command. It takes a few minutes for the metrics server to start gathering data. Run the kubectl top node command to wait for a valid output. So I'll just write in kubectl top node. So you can see over here there's an issue. Metrics API not available because right now I think it didn't load. But whenever I uh, wait for a few moments, it will start running. So you can see over here the control plane is the first node and the node 01 is the other node. You have 246 millicores being allocated for this CPU. And the memory in bytes is millibytes. That's a lot. Okay. So again, we have a lot of things in that control plane. That's why it has so much allocation going on. Yeah. So if there's any viewer like this one, hi, can you answer a question? Yes, please tell me your question. Okay. So now identify the node that consumes the most CPU cores. All right. So if I wanna know the uh, what's it called, the node with the most CPU cores, what I'll do is kubectl top. Okay, not right now node, but since I know the node with the yeah with the most CPU cores is this one, control plane. So it's this one. Okay, so now we go identify the node that consumes the most memory bytes, and it's basically the same thing, right? Memory bytes, this one. control plane. And then we have identify the pod that consumes the most memory bytes in default namespace. Pod, kubectl, top pod. So we have which pod is the one that consumes the most memory bytes? It's this one, 250 millibytes. Rabbit. Ow. Identify the pod that consumes the latest CPU cores. CPU cores in default namespace. And the least CPU cores in the default namespace is this one, Lion. That's all. That's all, folks. We're done with that. Submit. Okay, so now let's go ahead and view what's in the next video series. So I'm just gonna showcase some of
through
it.
the lab for
I'm not gonna watch that.
In this lecture, we talk about monitoring a Kubernetes cluster.
Okay.
So how do you monitor resource consumption on Kubernetes?
I already talked about the monitoring. We're done with that.
we get familiar
Okay,
About labels and selectors.
I think we did this before, but it's a nice topic to just go over. Yeah, so let's see. We got some of this. Okay, so I think there's no concurrent viewer, no questions asked. If you want to throw in some questions, throw them in.
Already. Labels and selectors are a standard method to group things together. Say you have a set of different species, a user wants to be able to filter them based on different criteria, such as based on their class or kind, if they are domestic or wild, or say by their color. And not just group, you want to be able to filter them based on a criteria, such as all green animals, or with multiple criteria, such as everything green that is also a bird. Whatever that classification may be, you need the ability to group things together and filter them based on your needs. And the best way to do that is with labels. Labels are properties attached to each item, so you add properties to each item for their class, kind, and color. Selectors help you filter.
So it's like a label. Class is a mammal, kind is domestic, and then color is blue. How would you have a cat that's blue? And over here, the turtle is class is reptile, kind is wild, and color is purple. Man, what the heck? Oh yeah, the colors on that. We have class bird, domestic, and
filter these items. For example, when you say class equals mammal, we get a list of mammals, and when you say color equals green, we get the green mammals. We see labels and selectors used everywhere, such as the keywords you tag to YouTube videos or blogs that help users filter an item. So you add properties to each item for their class, kind, and color. Selectors help you filter these items. For example, when you say class equals mammal, we get a list of mammals.
So basically, a selector is kind of like a group of this class equal to mammal.
And when you say color equals green,
so I understand.
We get the green mammals.
These are labels, and these are selectors.
We see labels and selectors used everywhere, such as the keywords you tag to YouTube videos or blogs that help users filter and find the right content. We see labels added to items in an online store that help you add different kinds of filters to view your products. So how are labels and selectors used in Kubernetes? We have created a lot of different types of objects in Kubernetes: pods, services, replica sets, deployments, etc. For Kubernetes, all of these are different objects. Over time, you may end up having replica sets.
Yeah, what's the difference between pods, services, replica sets, and deployments? The basic difference is that a pod, remember, it's like some kind of a box, and it has different containers in it. Okay, and you can think of it as like like an apartment room within a big apartment complex, and a complex is the node. Services, on the other hand, is kind of like a thing that allows external people using that particular pod within that cluster. Again, a cluster is not the apartment complex, but cluster you can think of as the city. Okay, so services have their external IPs that you can use, and replica sets are kind of like okay, so the difference between replica sets and deployments. Now, deployments, I know that it's kind of you have a manager kind of thing that kind of manages the different number of replicas inside of a particular pod. So suppose we have 3 different containers, and each container is basically having the same image. We can have a replica set or a deployment, and then kind of manages and makes sure that the state is always the number of 3 images.
Deployments, etc. For Kubernetes, all of these
or 3 containers, whatever.
Are different objects. Yeah. Over time, you may end up having hundreds or thousands of these objects in your cluster. Then you will need a way to filter and view different objects by different categories, such as to group objects by their type, or view objects by application, or by their functionality. Whatever it may be, you can group and select objects using labels and selectors. For each object, attach labels as per your needs, like app, function, etc. Then, while selecting, specify a condition to filter specific objects. For example, app equals app1. So how exactly do you specify labels in Kubernetes? In a pod definition file under methods app1. So how exactly do you specify labels in Kubernetes? In a pod definition file under
exactly would you specify labels in Kubernetes in a pod definition file under metadata? Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
A condition to filter specific objects.
But this is basically going to be at the end, honestly. Okay.
For example, app equals app1. So how exactly do you specify labels in Kubernetes? In a
Ah.
pod definition file,
So how do you specify labels in Kubernetes?
under metadata, create a section
So under metadata, create a
called labels. Under that, add the labels in a key value format.
Okay, app equal to app1 function front.
Like this. You can add as many labels as you like. Once the pod is created, to select the pod with the labels, use the kube control get
Okay, so pods hyphen selector app is equal to app1.
pods command along with the selector option and specify the condition like app equals app1. Now this is one use case of labels and selectors. Kubernetes objects use labels and selectors internally to connect different objects together. For example, to create a replica set consisting of 3 different pods.
Consisting of, okay, a replica set is consisting of 3 different pods, bro.
We first label the
Each have their own image, right? Container with the image.
Pod definition and use selector in a replica set to group the pods. Definition and use listing of 3 different pods. We first label the pod definition and use selector in a replica set to group the pods. In a replica set definition file, you will see labels defined in 2 places. Note that this is an area where beginners tend to make a mistake. The labels defined under the template section are the labels configured on the pod. The labels you see at the top are the labels of the replica set itself. We're not really concerned about the labels of the replica set for now, because we're trying to get the replica set to discover the pods. The labels on the replica set will be used if you were to configure some other object to discover the replica set. In order to connect the replica set to the pods, we configure the selector field under the replica set specification to match the labels defined on the pod. A single label will do if it matches correctly. However, if you feel there could be other pods with the same label, but with a different function, then you could specify both the labels to ensure that the right pods are discovered by the replica set. On creation, if the labels match, the replica set is created successfully. It works the same for other objects like a service. When a service is created, it uses the selector defined in the service definition file to match the labels set on the pods in the replica set definition file. Finally, let's look at annotations. While labels and selectors are used to group and select objects, annotations are used to record other details for informatory purpose. For example, tool details like name, version, build information, etc., or contact details, phone numbers, email IDs, etc., that may be used for some kind of integration purpose.
Kind of like useful information, these annotations.
Well, that's it for this lecture on labels and selectors and annotations. Head over to the coding exercises section and practice working with labels and selectors.
Well, that was it, and there's another lab.
Okay, in this video,
And then we're almost done with that. Let's start out, let's see what you can go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. Why is there so emotional content?
we're going to walk through the practice test for labels and selectors. So the question is, we have deployed a number of pods. They are labeled with tier, env, and bu. And how many pods exist in the
Number of pods, they are labeled with this tier, env and bu. How many pods exist in the
dev environment? So we have to use selectors.
dev environment? Okay.
So first, let's do a get pods. And we see that there are a number of
Okay. Okay, we have deployed a number of pods. They are labeled with tier, env, and bu. How many pods exist in the dev environment? Use selectors to filter the output.
get pods, and we see that there are a number of pods. Now we've got to filter it and identify the pods, get pods, and we see.
All right, so let's go ahead. We have deployed a number of pods. They are labeled with tier, env, and bu. How many pods exist in the dev environment? Okay. Let's go ahead and finish this, and then let's go and get a break, bro.
Are labeled with tier, env, and bu. And how many pods exist in the dev environment? So we have to use selectors. So first, let's do a get pods, and we see that there are a number of pods. Now we've got to filter it and identify the pods that are in the dev environment. So I'm assuming env is for environment.
Hyphen selector and then env is
So that's
dev. I can do this myself. So kubectl, get pods. You'll see all these bunch of pods, and I want to just filter out. They are labeled with tier, env, and bu. How many pods exist in the dev environment? Use selectors filter the output. Bro, just use kubectl get pods hyphen selector, and then we have environment, and then we have dev. There you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. It's all
the label and so this is the key and this is the value. So if we have to find pods using the selector, and then we'll say A and V equals dev, and we see that these are the pods in the dev environment. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. If you want to find, so now let's say since there are just 7, it's easy for us to just count. But let's say there are a lot of them that where it becomes difficult to count manually. One thing you could do is just do a word count, right? So you could do a word count dash L. And the problem with this is this also counts this top line, which is the header. So there's a way to count this top line L. What we could do is just do a word count, right?
One thing we can do is just do a word.
So you could do a word count dash L.
Word count. Okay.
And the problem with this is this also counts this top line, which is the header. So there's a way to print this without the headers, and that's using the no headers option. And when you run that, you just get the output without the header, and then we can.
Okay, so basically you can say hyphen no headers.
Do a word count on that, and that's 7. So 7 is the answer here.
Okay, cool. I mean, I got this. What you could say is hyphen dash word count hyphen I think 8, and you could say hyphen no headers. I don't know. I don't know if it's that, if it's like that, or if it's like what, right? And then we have pipe word count and then hyphen L. There you go. How many pods are in the finance business unit? Kubectl, get pods, hyphen selector, and then business unit is equal to finance. Again, it'll give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hyphen no headers, and then we have word count hyphen L. 6. Bro. Okay, how many objects are in the prod environment, including pods, replica sets, and any other objects? How many objects are in the prod environment? Okay, let's look at that.
Okay, so the next question is how many pods are in the finance business unit? So we saw that the label key is DU is for business unit, and business unit we're looking at is finance, and we'll just use the same command for this, and this time it's 6. Okay, and how many objects are in the prod environment, including pods, replica sets, and any other objects? So let's use the same command and change the labels. So the environment is prod, and now we're only listing the pods. So to list all objects, what you could do is
hyphen all.
give all instead of pods. So all.
Okay, I got it. So kubectl get all. So it kind of gives me everything, bro. What is this? Yeah, let's look at this. Pods, services, replica sets. Gives me a whole bunch of stuff. So I'd say I get all, and then I say in hyphen selector. And then we have equal to, and then we have hyphen selector. Okay. And then we have prod or environment is equal to prod. Okay, we got pods 1, 2, 3, 4, service 5, 6, 7. 7 it's the total thing, bro.
All lists all the objects in that namespace. So here we have pods, we have surveys, and we have replica sets, right? So if you count this, let's do a word count. And so that's number 7. So there are 7 objects.
Bro, he just did, what did he do is, he said, okay, get all, hyphen selector, and then we have environment equal prod, and then he did hyphen no, hyphen headers, and then he had a pipe, word count, and hyphen L. Basically, you got the whole thing like that. I demand a pod, which is part of the prod environment, the finance BU, and a front and a front end tier. Okay, I can understand that. Kubectl get pods, and then hyphen selector, selector, and then we have which is part of the prod environment. So environment is equal to prod, and then the finance BU business unit is finance, and then we have tier is equal to front end. I did it wrong. So let's see.
And then the next question is to identify the pod, which is part of the prod environment, the finance BU, and the front end tier. So one that has all of it. So the environment is prod. Then we can just add additional labels separated by a comma. So BU equals finance, and tier is front end.
Okay, you can do it with commas. I was like, what? How do you do that, bro? So basically, you can do is kubectl get pods hyphen selector. Let's see. Um, okay, and then we have a flag needs an arguments. Okay, this flag needs an argument, so we give a argument to this. Um, we have environment is equal to prod, and then we have comma business unit is finance, and then comma tier is front end. And there's this one app1 zzddf. Cool. A replica set definition file is given. This one attempt. Oh, there you go. Replica set definition one. Attempt to create the replica set. You can encounter an issue with the file. Try to fix it. Once you fix the issue, create the replica set from the definition file. Because I don't know if we have a replica set. Kubectl get replica set. RS. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 replica sets. Set the label key tier value on the set the label key tier value on the pod definition template to front end. Okay.
Okay, so that happens to be this particular pod, which is it starts with zzxdf. It's this one.
Bro, you can also like I did a get replica sets and I got all these. If I didn't want if suppose if I didn't want to no hyphen have no hyphen headers or headers. So it was not going to give me those headers you see on the top, right? Nine these are current. And if I wanted to get the count of it, I can just do pipe word count and then hyphen L. This is just going to give me the count of all these instances. And there you go.
One right here. Okay. The final question is about again labels. So there's a file called replica set definition file, and
yeah, so there's a replica set definition file. So we have an API version of apps v1, kind replica set, metadata name, replica set, and all that. Replicas 2, selector, match labels, tier front end, template, metadata labels, tier, and Nginx. Why is it in there?
request is to create the replica set, but there's an issue with it, so we've got to fix it. So let's try creating it. Okay, it says the replica set is invalid value. Selector does not match template labels. So selector is this,
selector and is this,
template labels.
And
this template and template labels is this.
Okay, selector is this, and template labels is this.
So
selector is that, and template labels is that.
Error message is that this does not match this.
Selector is that, and template labels is that.
And we know that for replica set.
Selector is that, and template labels is that. Bro.
To manage.
And we know that the replica set to manage
the pod. So this is basically the pod definition. The replica set needs to have these two match.
Okay, the replica set needs to match those.
Otherwise, it won't be able to manage the pod. So that's the.
Okay, otherwise the replica set won't be able to manage the pod. Okay, I got it, bro. That's the purpose.
Validation error here. So we're gonna fix this by changing this to value below. Save that.
Bro, what?
To value below.
Okay.
Save that. And let's create pod. Sorry, the replica set, and it's created. Let's verify.
I was thinking of the other way, but he did this way. It was good.
Creation. Yep, it's working. Okay, so that's.
All right, bro. So let's do it. I'll do the other way. So, ls or I'll say vi, replica set definition. Okay. We're in insert mode. So, like I was saying, this template is this is the pod definition, Nginx tier, and this is the replica set, label front end tier. If I can like suppose I just match it like front end instead of like the same thing up there, right? I can just keep it consistent. It would still run because if I say kubectl create hyphen f and then we have replica set. Let's see, created, and if I say kubectl get pods and oh no, kubectl create replica or get rs replica set can see over here, this is the one that was created. Replicas are two. Wait, I wanted to see like VI or cat replica set. How? Okay, replicas are two. Yeah, there you go. Oh, okay. So tier front end, tier front end. It's containers, the name and image of Nginx, right? That was the thing. I was like, what the heck? You can just keep it the same. That's why. That was done, bro, and we are back to the next thing, which
In this
is
lecture, we will talk about
rolling updates. Um, yeah, and I just like journal labels and selectors are done. Like, bro, you can just say coop cuddle, get pods, um, and then we have hyphen hyphen selector, and then we have suppose environment is equal to PRD, and then we have business unit is equal to finance, um, and then if we want to have no headers, we could say hyphen hyphen no hyphen headers header, and then we have pipe, and we say word count hyphen L. There you go. That's the entire thing, and then we have the deployment, which is deployment updates and rollback. Deployment updates. So we have deployment updates and rollback. Rollback is kind of like a going back one version, whereas updates is like going to a new version.
updates and rollbacks in a deployment. Before we look at how
Okay, in a deployment.
we upgrade our application, let's try to understand rollouts and versioning in a deployment.
Rollouts and versioning in a deployment. Again, these all concepts really tie in. Yeah, but I'm just gonna like do this in the next one. So yeah, pretty much it. Okay, got some questions. Do you think beginners should learn DevOps like from Code Cloud and apply for entry level DevOps jobs, or is it not a good idea for a beginner? Rather, should learn web dev for a beginner? Because there is an opinion that DevOps is not for beginner and one cannot get entry level DevOps job. Well, that is absolutely not true. Okay, so you can get a job as a DevOps junior engineer, and and I've seen people doing it, cloud infrastructure and everything. Having that sort of knowledge is very beneficial. If you can have skills in web development as well, it's not something that will hurt you. Okay, I have skills in development, I have skills in scripting, I have skills with machine learning, so I have skills with, you have to learn more and more because now these days it's very easy to learn on different websites and AI. So I would recommend choosing the field. Let's suppose go with the safe side and just say, okay, let me start with development, get really good at development, and then once you are like sufficient enough and you are applying for web development jobs, do not limit yourself. Suppose you're not getting answers from web development jobs, then apply for cloud development jobs. Okay, and then cloud development jobs also require development experience sometimes, and sometimes for junior level entry low roles they just need your passion and your knowledge of prior computer science. If you have a bachelor's degree, if you have sort of programming knowledge, so it all helps out. So again, it doesn't really matter. So I hope that helped answer your question. And thank you for watching the live stream. Have a